Welcome back, everyone, to the RUDIS Wrestling Podcast, episode 71. Today we have a very special guest and new partner with RUDIS Wrestling, Logan Stieber, four-time NCAA champ, world champ. Excited to have you here, Logan.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Awesome place.
Yeah, so I think first things first, there's a lot of things to unpack over the however long the podcast goes here, but a lot of things we want to get into. But the first thing, obviously, you recently announced your retirement from active wrestling, but now you're jumping into an exciting new venture with the Stieber Elite Wrestling Academy.
Yeah.
So wanted to get this out on the front end because you're starting workouts here in another month, just over a month and a half, right?
Yep, starting September 1st. So, yeah, I'm excited. It's it's something I've been thinking about for a while and been putting into the works. And it's something that is kind of always been on my mind just growing up and last, 8 years or so since I've, 9 years ago I started college. And then just seeing, thinking about my future in the sport and thinking about, what I want to do when I'm done competing. And of course I didn't know at the time when I would be done or what's going on. But, after the World Championships this year and just taking time off, I was thinking, man, I think that, potentially starting a club, starting a wrestling academy would be something I would like to do. So just time goes on, thinking about it more. And, when I decided that I wanted to retire and stop competing, it's something that I was like, I think I want to start this club. I don't know if I want to start college coaching yet. It's something that's also been on my mind. But I kind of wanted to take a different route. Start out, see what I can do and see how I can impact these kids. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's always got to be a tough thing. As an athlete, you've got to be so locked in. Like there can't be any distractions. So a lot of people are always thinking like, well, what are you going to do in your next phase of life? I'm like, well, I don't have time to think about that, right?
I don't care.
Right? Like nothing else matters.
I'm trying to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's got to be when you're approaching that, when you're approaching the mentality, how long had you started the thoughts of, all right, maybe this might be my time to exit the sport?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think in wrestling I've had obviously a lot of really great moments and success, but in the losses, in all my losses throughout my career, I never really questioned anything or never was down too much. And I think last year my body just started to break down a little bit. And even some of the losses I had that were to really good guys, good opponents, I think it started to wear on me a little bit mentally, and then my body starts to break down. And then I just, I wasn't sure, if I wanted to keep doing it anymore, keep training, keep cutting weight, keep, doing all the workouts. So as that's happening, I pushed through, it cleared my mind, talked to Tervel a lot, pushed through everything, prepared well for the World Championships. And then after the Worlds, just decompressing and talking about it with my wife and my coaches more. It just, it didn't creep. I didn't feel great about my wrestling, maybe in the early spring of last year, got it together, made the team, won Pan Ams. And then, once probably January was happening, that's when it really started to creep in my mind.
Yeah. So I want to jump into all that thing, all those things, because there's a lot of nuance in there that you can talk about. Like, I think a lot of people think they look at you and they see this young guy who's made won everything, right? Yeah. Literally, you won everything. You won NCAAs, you won the World Championships. You're relatively young. You're still, you just made a world team last year.
Yeah.
And people are like, what, he's walking away now? Like, and they don't understand. And that's kind of what I want to get into, but I want to circle back to the club and make sure we give that its proper platform.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of interesting things getting in the mind of the elite athlete that a lot of people think, the things that are going through your head and the way you're analyzing them and factoring them in your decision making about how you want to move forward, how you want to compete. It's completely unique because you're the top 1%. You're doing and achieving everything in the sport that everybody aspires to.
Yeah.
But getting into that high level mentality is very unique, and how your mind is wired and how your body is feeling, and how your motivation, is continuing to carry through and where it's got to be.
Right.
Those are all really important things. So I want to get back to that, but so let's talk about like the bare bones of like Stieber Elite. What is Stieber Elite? Where are you going to be training out of?
Yeah.
What's the focus and what's the intention of the club?
Yeah, so the Stieber Elite Wrestling Academy, we're going to be training out of the Jennings facility, brand new facility at Ohio State, and it's incredible. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's incredible. It's something that I've been in a lot of wrestling rooms throughout the country, throughout the world, and it's the best. It's just state of the art. I mean, just the windows, the technology. So that's where we're going to be having it. It's going to be 3 times a week. It's going to be the fall and spring will be youth through high school, split up into two different groups. Right now, the winter is just youth, but that could change. So we're working with Ohio State compliance and everything. Since it's on campus, I have to rent the facility and pay for what I'm renting. So, but they've been really good. They've let me know that if I need to add things or just subtract things, just give them enough time. So there's a chance that the high school will be during the winter as well. So I hired assistant coach Sal Marandino, wrestled in New Jersey, wrestled for the Buckeyes for a year, and he's had a successful club himself in Columbus area, and he's just really, really great technician, great with the kids, great with social media, computer things, and so he's gonna be a great addition to the club. And I think that we can do a lot of great work, wrestling work for the kids Central Ohio and even outside that range. So I'm excited. I've been around. I mean, I always say my success. I've worked really hard, but I've had really great coaches, ever since growing up, whether it's elementary, middle school, and even into college. So I've learned a lot. What to do, what not to do, I think. And I think I'm going to continue to learn. So I'm excited. I think I can make a big difference.
No, that's exciting. So if kids want to sign up, where do they go to sign up?
Yeah, so it's StieberElite.com. STIE. Most people will spell it EI, but StieberElite.com. So, and then I think there's registration, and the website's pretty good, and you can find everything, a lot more info on the facility and the registration. I know we just had the fall sign up now, and then I think in August we will open up for the winter. But right now we're just looking at the fall, and then there's 3 different. You can sign up for the 2-month period, $250. If you want to go month to month, kind of check it out. Maybe you have something in October that you have to do, but you want to come in September, or the opposite. That's $130 a month, and then the flex option gives you 5 practices a month for $90.
Okay.
So I think that's great for the people who maybe live too far away and they want to come in on Sundays and another day during the week. We got some good options, and again, it's something that I've talked to my coaches and my buddy David Taylor has a club in State College. So I've been talking to him a lot, and I'm going to learn a lot as the process goes, and I'm excited, and I think it's going to be good. I was talking to I think Tervel yesterday, and just talking about how I think I can help the kids a lot. I think I can help the parents a lot too. I mean, wrestling parents.
I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of, and Ben and I talk about this a lot because he's kind of doing a similar thing up in Wisconsin, and he's like, a lot of parents and kids, they just think about it's just about the kids. Like there's a ton of education and a ton of knowledge that you can pass on to parents too. That I think, most parents, they just pull things out, as a byproduct of, they see what's going on in the room, they see what these practices are, they see what these different clubs are, and so they start forming their own opinions. And where, Ben always talks about, it's like, no, I think we need to help shape their minds as well. And that's an important thing about how to bring young kids through, when to push, when to, really dive in and get serious about it. Because I think, so many parents think, well, you got to go all in and start training like an Olympic champ at 5 years old. And that's maybe not the best thing.
No,
a lot of times it's not the best thing.
Yeah. No, it was, it's something that I think, there'll be a lot of education. I think that the training and the way that I've seen parents, just treat their kids or just be upset about some things. And I think that I can help just relay the message that the wrestling's hard, right? And for the most part, the kids want to win. Right? So it's my job as a coach to help prepare them to win, give them the tools they need to win, the confidence they need to win. And the parents just watch, support, love them. And, if they need a little bit of a kick in the butt, let me do that. Right. So it's, if I can separate, the parent from the coaching and let me do the work and Sal do the work, I think that we'll be able to make a big difference, because it's just, wrestling's hard, and people who have wrestled forget that. So people who never wrestled don't even know, and it's hard. And when you're out there in a singlet in front of everybody losing, it's hard. And so nobody wants to do that. Everyone wants to win. So just kind of relaying that message and motivating the kids to work hard and to want to, be a great wrestler. And as we know, it doesn't matter how many youth state titles you have. What's the end goal here? Do you want to just make friends and be on the wrestling team and then go on and enjoy your life? Do you want to, get a college scholarship? My goal was always, my dad worked construction, and it was hard. And it was like, hey, listen, you guys want to go to college? You guys got to get good at wrestling, do well in school so you can get a scholarship, because what I do every day is very tough.
Yeah.
And my brother and I were like, yeah, that seems really tough, horrible. So we didn't want to do that. So that was our motivation, and my brother and I were really good. So I'd say, we were the 1%ers, but wrestling is very tough. So kind of just getting that message throughout, and I think I can help the parents and the kids a lot.
My parents were similar to yours. My dad was a pastor in a small town,
Yeah.
Didn't make any money. And so he just introduced it. One, he did a couple of things that really motivated me to want to go to college, because as the pastor's kid in a local farm town, he farmed out me and my brothers to all the local farmers. So all I did all summer outside of wrestling was baling hay, picking rocks, mowing yards. He would just throw me into every farmer in the county and hey, you need some help? I got 4 boys. They'll help you out. And so I figured out pretty quickly, after spending 10 hours a day in a hay mow, I was like, this ain't for me, man.
Yeah.
It's I gotta do something. But also the reality was, my dad was like, hey, we don't make a lot of money. This is your choice. If we're going to do something, he's like, we're going to do things one or two ways. You can either get a job and start working really hard and pay for your college, because you're going to go to college, or we can jump in, invest all your time, and try and take this adventure and try and get your college education paid for. And we were able to do that. Yeah. But looking back, I see all the best intentions my dad had, and he was a great coach, and he was a great dad, and he put me in a lot of great positions. But in hindsight, I'm like, we didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like the force of our will, and some people that we had around us that had kind of helped show us the way, but we didn't know. And I'm sure you and your brother feel that way now. And in hindsight, even your dad's like, man, we didn't really know anything, but it turned out really well. And I think one of the benefits of this is you've got the experience. You've got, everybody's going to follow their own individual path.
Yeah.
But you're more informed now.
For sure.
From this. And I think that's a valuable thing that you can share to parents.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to, I look back at my growing up in the all the studs and all the youth stars we had. And I mean, most of them didn't make it. And I didn't make it to college. It's just, they hated wrestling. They hated everything about it. It was just too tough. So if I can help get that number way up, where it's everyone's not going to be a, 4-time state champion, but hey, we're gonna do everything we can to get you to be the best you can be. And that might be being a 1-time state champion, getting a 4.0 and getting, being able to walk on somewhere or get booked somewhere. And that's a big win. And another kid, it might be, hey, yeah, you won 3 titles. You're going to Ohio State. You're going to a big school, right? And you're going to be, winning NCAA titles soon. So getting people to just be successful with their wrestling, with their life, with their school, and I think it will start with something that's really important in their life. And if wrestling is really important and they are able to do the right things and be successful in wrestling, then it'll start, going out into the rest of their lives. So,
yeah, because I think there's so many opportunities out there. And I think a lot of parents, they kind of pigeonhole themselves in thinking, well, it's a full scholarship or nothing, right?
Gosh,
my kid's got to be a 4-time state champ. He's got to get a full ride. And if he can't do that, then, we've lost. I'm like, no, like just, like you said, even the state placer that's a 4.0 can create a lot of opportunities for himself.
Scholarships from their school. If they're a good wrestler, they might get books and books from the college, especially if in-state. It's a lot cheaper for in-state, and there's lots of ways to at least better your situation, right? Maybe as a 7th grader, you're like, not really great at sports, but I really like wrestling. You work hard. By the time you're a senior, you're state champion, state placer, and you did well in school. You made the right decisions growing up, and you got a scholarship.
Yeah,
and it might be, you pay half for school, but
or
you're
some
in a
of
better
these kids
situation than you were, a couple years ago.
Yeah, some of these kids, it's just the opportunity to get into, like in your situation, Ohio State, because I think a lot of people, and I had the experience of being at Penn State and being at Binghamton, which was the premier state school in New York, and a lot of people think, well, Ohio State's a state school, so it's easy to get into. But the reality is, like, nobody gets in there. And just being good enough to even be a walk-on at Ohio State would give you an opportunity to get into Ohio State that you may normally not have. So, I look at those things in hindsight after being out of coaching now. I'm like, just the opportunity to get an education from Ohio State is a win and is a big success.
Yeah, people think the Ohio State thing. I think the ACT you have to have for regular students 29. That's hard.
Which is really hard, by the way. Yeah, that's 29 out of 36.
Yeah, I think I got 24. And I guess it's pretty good for an athlete. And I was like, oh, thanks. And then they're like, but I think when I was in school, maybe it was 27 or 28 that what you needed. And I'm like, wow, that's hard because, I was pretty smart in high school. So I was like, man, it's tough. And, I don't know what the cutoff for athletes is.
I think there's always each athletic department's a little different. Each program has a little bit more flexibility here and there. But I think a lot of people,
not easy.
I know when I was at Penn State all the time, people are like, oh, I'll get into Penn State, right? I'm like, no,
it's hard.
Nobody gets into Penn State. Like, like Ohio State was similar to Penn State. Like, you had a bunch of really good student athletes that had really good GPAs, but probably the majority of you wouldn't have gotten in on your own if you didn't have athletics or didn't have wrestling. So I think just that, there's so many just participating and sticking with it.
Yes.
Will open so many doors. So it's, for all you parents out there, it's not just and it's a reality for everybody. Money's a reality for everybody, but it's not the most important thing. The opportunities that you can have and how, like for you, the benefit and you're like you and we're the fortunate ones. We're able to make our living in wrestling and being around it. But the majority of people by the end of college or by the end of high school, the journey's over.
Yeah.
And so it's the opportunity that you take and the advantage you take of those opportunities, like at Ohio State, that's going to provide you a great life for the next 50 years, whatever it's going to set you up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, wrestling, it sets you up for the future. I've talked to so many businessmen, successful people who wrestled in high school, wrestled in college, went to Ohio State. I mean, I've been to, I think I counted it the other day with my wife, 22 countries. And I think I've seen someone wearing a Ohio State something hat or shirt in probably 18 of them. I mean, on my honeymoon last year, we transitioned through Singapore. We had the day there, went shopping and stuff. I was riding up an escalator, going down the escalator, a guy was wearing an Ohio State shirt. I mean, Singapore, Asia, it's 16 hours away, flight away. I mean, it's all over the world. There's Ohio State fans, alumni, people who work. And like, with other colleges as well, right? I'm sure you've seen so many Penn State things everywhere, and it's just like all over. It's give yourself the opportunity to be successful, to get better at whatever you're doing, and I think that this if they have interest in wrestling, this club will be able to definitely broaden their future.
And I actually think, and I know you mentioned, some different career options available for you, whether jumping into college coaching. I know, you're going to have any opportunity that you want, probably, if that's where you want. I actually think you're jumping into the hardest part of coaching, and that's coaching kids. Because like you were saying, like, I always thought as a college coach, I'm like, hey, half the job is already over because they want to win. All the guys I'm recruiting, I know they want to win. When I get them here, they're motivated to wrestle in Division I. So just having that aspiration, having that goal, and having that understanding of what it's going to take, like for you to jump into it, your eyes are wide open. So I'm like, these guys that I'm recruiting and are coming in, I know they want to win. But with you jumping in to kids, introducing them to the sport, all the different tiers that they're going to go through, from introducing them to the sport in the right way to get them to fall in love. Teaching the parents, guiding the parents about proper development, proper guidance with their kids. And then as they, go through those tiers about, they get introduced to the sport, they get the itch, they start competing, and then they start aspiring for higher goals and dreams. Like, there's a lot of things that you got to navigate through that process. Whereas in college, like, these guys have they've kind of already gone through all those things that you've got to guide them through. And so it's critical for a guy like you, like, not to put any more weight on your shoulders, but you've got the weight of, like, the biggest responsibility of getting these kids to really be passionate about the sport. And that's the biggest thing, right?
So, I'm going to make it a fun environment, a motivating environment. And then when they're kids that they're ready to train, then they're going to have the place to train, but definitely building that fire inside them will be important. And I imagine we'll see it more in the youth level. And again, just kind of just talking, but about the college guys, I think the high school guys will have a lot of fire in them, continuing that fire. So it's really burning, and they want to compete at a high level. But the youth will be fun. I think that my experience just with doing camps with all ages and kind of all different levels of wrestling will help. But yeah, it definitely will be a challenge. It's something, but I'm really excited for.
So you touched on a term that a lot of people talk about, and I think the definition of it changes as you grow in the sport. But you talked about fun, and there's a lot of people that you hear that term in wrestling, but other sports as well. And when you talk about, like, with, especially, let's break it down on different age levels. So at the youth level, when you talk about having fun with the sport, really how do you want to engage kids in that, and parents, and get them to understand what is fun about the sport at that age?
Well, I mean, I think what's fun about the sport and wrestling is something that maybe most team sports, but you're just creating these friends and these relationships that are going to last for a long time. I mean, a lot of the kids I grew up with, whether they were really successful or not, I've stayed friends with a lot of them, and so I think that creating the friends will be something that will be, I think, everlasting for these guys. And then just getting them used to like wrestling freely, wrestling them without any pressure, any fear, and kind of get them to a point where they're able to kind of flow throughout all positions. I think me growing up, we did a lot of drilling and a lot of not drilling and then live. We're going to incorporate a lot of sparring and some people call it play wrestling, and it's what we do a lot at the college level a lot. And I think that's really fun. I think doing long drills is tough and not always that enjoyable. Of course, winning is enjoyable, And
and
that
I think,
happens after.
with drilling specifically, it's been interesting to see that evolution of the introduction of spar wrestling, play wrestling, whatever you want to call it, because typical drilling is so rote. That never happens in a match.
Never happens.
That situation where you post, head outside, cut across to a double, that never happens perfectly. I mean, against some guys it will, but against your toughest competition, it's never perfect. And so let's talk about the evolution of spar wrestling, play wrestling, and how critical that is to getting your understanding to wrestling.
Well, I know it's very tough for youth because the youth always think that they are losing, and then they get upset, and then it turns into a live or kids crying. So getting them used to the defensive part of it. Everyone knows how to wrestle offensively for the most part for the kids who are wrestling, but the defensive part of being able to flow and continue the position. That's what we try to tell our guys. And when you watch the best in the world, is that while they're good defensively, they just continue the position. I mean, if you make a head inside single take 30 seconds, you might give up. Offensively, you might be like, I can't win.
Yeah.
Or if it's a 3-second finish, you're like, okay, that's easy. So kind of getting these guys used to just continue wrestling, right? The takedowns you never give it up. And you watch guys like Chamizo wrestle, where he looks like he's 99% taken down and he gets away. Not always, of course, but that's enough to break a man.
Yeah.
Imagine being that close and not getting it. 99% of the way there. So getting the guys used to just continue to wrestle, and it'll be tough right away. Just getting them to work on giving up takedowns. When it's kind of it's more than a drill, but less than live.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to give up the takedown. Get back up and wrestle again. You'll learn the position. So it's something that I've really done a lot more last 3 years, and I've learned so much. I mean, my wrestling knowledge is way higher than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, because I think what it also forces the individual to do is take individual ownership of their own wrestling. I think when we do your standard teaching, like hit this setup shot and finish, kids can just do what you say instead of understanding why you're doing it, right? And the beauty of play wrestling and spar wrestling is like it's forcing you, if done properly, put yourself in situations that you're not comfortable and figure them out. You know the fundamentals. You go over the fundamentals. You teach the fundamentals all the time, but the nuance of it and the variables given the situation, you can't prepare for that, right? And so you gotta play around with that and figure it out. And I think that's the one thing that when kids unlock, they can completely take ownership and like, no, I want to understand. I'm going to incorporate this, and this is how it works for me.
Yeah,
that's a really hard principle. But once you get it, man, like you said, you can just take off.
Yeah, I always tell people, when I'm showing these moves, they say, "Oh, who taught you this?" or "When did you learn this?" And I've had really great coaches. So I would say most, 50, 60% of the stuff that I do on a daily basis is stuff I've learned throughout my career with coaches. But the other 40, 50% is stuff I figured out on my own. I mean, if you have a mind that wants to, if you want to get good at your wrestling, and it's probably the same with everything. If you're reading, if you're doing science, whatever you're doing, you're figuring a lot of things out on your own. So I've learned a lot just by sparring and by putting myself in situations. Even before sparring was a thing, just wrestling live, and people ask, how do I get good on my top stuff, like focused on top, and I'm doing it all the time. I'm not taking the guy down and letting him up. I'm spending so much time in that position. And now, 10 years ago, it wasn't sparring. It was just me working hard on top. But it's the same idea. I mean, we're going to drill the guys so they can learn the moves, muscle memory, and then we're going to spar them. And they're going to figure out things on their own. And I'm going to teach them a lot. Sal's going to teach them a lot. But they're going to teach themselves so much. I mean, it'll be fun to watch, because in our room now, it's every week. Terrell's like, "Oh my gosh, I got this new thing. I was doing I was doing this," and I was like, I was crazy because I was doing something a little bit different the other day. I figured it out, and then we're hitting each other's moves, and that's fun.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it. Running sprints, wrestling 10-minute goes, getting beat. That's not that fun, right? Now the end goal maybe is the fun part, getting your hand raised, doing a lot of stuff, but the real struggles of wrestling, they're tough. But unlocking things in your mind, figuring things out, chatting up with all the guys, all your teammates, and figuring moves out that you're doing, that's fun, and that's something that I hope to bring to these guys.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you touched on it, and that's exactly right. It doesn't matter if it's wrestling or reading or whatever you're trying to do. It's the pursuit of knowledge and getting people passionate to pursue different levels of knowledge and different levels of understanding. And whether it's a 5-year-old learning a knee over toe penetration and getting him to start thinking about that and like understanding it himself, as opposed to like, just do what I say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're always going to hit that glass ceiling. It's like, just do what I say. Now, you can have a lot of success, especially probably, and maybe that's a different area to talk about, but there's different teaching structures out there and different philosophies, and I kind of want to pick your brain about this. Like, we've seen a lot of successful programs throughout the country at, junior high, high school, club that are very regimented. It's a skill set. Like, this is what we do, and if you do this in a specific way, you're going to have success. But I don't know if that really opens up the doors to really have you take complete control and ownership and find levels of growth in the sport, because you just don't.
Yeah.
You never know how to think, or you're not forced to learn how to think.
Yeah, you said it right. That's a way to build, a good program, and everyone kind of doing the same thing, but you're not going to get, I think, the best out of your guys. I think if you're in the right market, if you're in the right area, you might be successful in what you're doing. But to get guys who are growing at a rate and learning at a rate that is just, what you want, right? Not that seen very often. You have to be constantly evolving. So constantly learning from other people around you. And, I think that, you have to just keep learning, because there's always other ways to do it. Just watch wrestling 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40. Like, wrestling's evolving, and it's getting better and better. And the guys now are I believe, better than they were 10 years ago, better than they were 20 years ago. So the people are going to keep getting better, and it's going to be, survival of the fittest.
Yeah. It was funny. I was having dinner with a buddy of mine last night. We were talking about our wrestling careers. And like, man, looking back, like, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And, I had some success, and my brothers had success, but it was basically because we were tough.
Yeah.
We were just tough. We didn't know anything about wrestling. And it was, I told people, near the end of my coaching career a couple of years ago, I was like, look, the way I'm coaching, what I'm teaching now is completely different than even what I was coaching 8 years ago, 6 years ago. It's like, it's constantly evolving, constantly changing. That's one of the fun things about the sport, right?
Sure.
Is like finding out new things, staying cutting edge, staying current, that's what's fun.
Right. And that's like what I said, about coming in the room and figuring stuff out. I said that's the fun part of the sport, and it's something that I really look forward to, because I see such a high level now with the RTC at Ohio State, and I'm excited to drop down that knowledge to guys who are beginning their wrestling career, and high school kids who are, looking to, win that first state title, go win Fargo. So stuff like that, I'm really excited for.
Yeah. So we talked about the creative aspect, taking ownership and thinking and learning on your own, but there's also the other side of things where there's got to be core fundamentals that I think everybody's got to be proficient at, right? What are the things, when you break down, when you look at the basic elements of the sport that are really critical for any kid, like what are the main things that you want to incorporate foundationally with these young guys?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, having a strong core in position will be important. I think, being able to stay in position, and I remember Coach Jordan. Coach Jordan always talked about being in your stance, and that always kind of stuck with me, positional wise. And of course things change, and wrestling's evolving, but the same idea is that you're always in a strong core. So for Coach Jordan, you're always getting back to your stance. I have the same idea. Get a strong core, right? So strong core, in position, whether you're on the mat, on your feet. But I want offensive. I want offensive guys. I want guys who are scoring points, and I want people who are attacking the defense. So we've been working a lot on attacking the defense. So I'm learning a lot right now. I'm teaching things at camp that I've never taught before, and that's a lot of fun. But I want guys who are scoring points, and I get that there's different styles and stuff, but wrestling's more fun when you can open up and score points. So, being able to wrestle like they are in the wrestling room in tournaments will be important. That wrestling freely is tough, and that's something that's been forever since the start of wrestling till now. People who are awesome in the room but get nervous when they wrestle, or they're scared to lose, or scared to give up points. So having that no fear is where they can wrestle. They shoot and get taken down, that's fine. If they lose, that's fine. Or keep working on it. Right? It's Terrell said something the other day. It's okay. It's okay to lose. It's not okay to give your best. So I don't. Listen, people lose all the time, and it's so kind of having that mind where you're like, listen, I'm gonna go out, do my best, and the other guy's better than me today. He's better than me.
Yeah.
We'll learn from it. It's not the end of the world. It's a wrestling match. It's tough, but it's okay. We'll learn from it and we'll get better.
And I think that's a real, man, what you said there is so critical to get kids to embrace that mentality at a young age. And it starts in the room, right?
Yeah.
Because so many kids, they want to go in the room. And like you said, hey guys, let's start sparring. All of a sudden sparring turns into competition. Yeah. Competition starts, you start clock watching in your head and score clocking in your head. Like, oh, I got 3 takedowns. He got 2. So I beat this guy. And all of a sudden, like, what you're trying to accomplish in practice, which is getting better, goes out the wayside because from a young age, these kids think, well, I'm just trying to win in the room.
Yeah.
And instead of, no, it's about getting better in the room. And it's not just, I think kids can embrace that, but that's one of the things that you got to pass on to parents. Like, hey, this room is about preparation. This room is about the process. This room isn't about competition. It drives me crazy when I see parents getting kids' faces in the room, like getting on them, like, because the intent's there, I think. They want their kid to get better.
Yeah, for sure.
But the outlet comes across more as like, you're not winning in the room. Yeah. It's like what dad or mom or whoever, because the moms are just as passionate as the dads, right? That's like, mom, dad's like, hey, let's understand the proper mentality that we're bringing in the room. And that's wrestling, like you said, wrestling with freedom. Freedom means there's no pressure. You're just trying to get better. Yeah. And the results don't matter. Like, so what? You give up a takedown, get back up, get another one. So what? Right?
Yeah. I've it's funny. A funny story. I've told a couple of times at camps and things. But so we were in a really good club, Burnett's Club in Elyria, LaGrange, Ohio. So we're wrestling, and my brother and I just remember it was just a regular, probably summer day or whatever. We're wrestling, and my dad was not happy about Hunter getting taken down, giving up his legs. So my dad said, all right, every time you give up your legs, this go, 5-minute go, whatever, you have, I forget what the punishment was, 50 push-ups, whatever, 50 jump ropes, something that was not going to be fun to do. So he's like, yeah, every time a guy gets to your leg, you don't have to take you down, just gets to your leg, you have this punishment. And I remember watching my brother continually to shoot and let the guy spin on him. Shoot, let the guy spin on him. Shoot, let the guy spin on him. And I was like, well, that's interesting, Hunter. But it's just me thinking about it, and I'm like, well, kind of that's how Hunter kind of gave it. He would give it back to my dad sometimes. Yeah. And that was his way of giving it back. But in my mind, now thinking about that situation, it's funny how things stick with you. It's such a long time ago. But I'm thinking that didn't help him defend his legs when he's in, he's wrestling in a big match, big time dual meet for Ohio State, a big time, NCAA quarterfinals match. Him not giving, not letting someone touch his legs, not helping him.
Right.
So it's like, well, what am I supposed to do if he cuts my leg? I don't know how to defend it.
Yeah.
So for me, I think about that story, and I think about how parents can be, where they're like, just don't want to touch it. Don't let the boots in.
That's simple.
Right? Don't let the leg in. What do you mean? Why are you giving up the single leg? You know, so it's stuff like that makes me laugh about the past and excited about being able to help these guys because, you know, sometimes it's you have to give up some things to learn, you know. So in that situation, it's like my brother's like, oh, okay, I don't want the punishment. I'll just keep shooting in. I didn't give up my legs.
Yeah.
Oops.
Hey, you didn't touch me, Dad.
Right. So it's like I think of that and I laugh hard. I laugh because of the relationship, of course, but you know, just the thinking behind that, both ends. You know, where it's like, you know, we need to become better wrestlers. You know, we were probably, I don't know, 12 years old, 10 years old. It's like, you gotta get better at wrestling. You know, whatever your goals are, you know, if it's even just to win the next match,
yeah,
you got to be able. What if the guy gets your legs next match? How are you gonna defend it? So, you know, just getting the guys better at wrestling, I think is gonna be really fun.
Yeah.
To do.
No, I'm excited for it. It's gonna be fun. Yeah. So I think we've all been in this position, and I think a lot of us, you know, that have given so much to the sport, it's because we got so much out of the sport, right?
Yes.
So it's almost like, I know that's what my motivation was to get into coaching. Like, I had so many great people invest so much of their life into me that I was like, I need to do that. I got a lot out of the sport, but I also felt that there was a responsibility to actually give back what I got out. And I, you know, even when I got out of coaching a couple of years ago, I'm like, man, did I give back as much as I got out? It's one of those questions I constantly ask. I mean, is that kind of the motivation why you wanted to get into coaching?
A little bit. I mean, I really like wrestling a lot, and it's something that, you know, it's I've gotten other hobbies in the last, you know, few years, and I've enjoyed and been interested in a lot more things, you know, ever since probably college has ended. But yeah, I enjoy giving back. You know, I think it's something I could help a lot. I really enjoy coaching kids and coaching high level athletes, guys who want to be great. It's very fun for me. It's fun to watch them grow, and it's fun to help figure out things. So I think that, you know, wrestling is something that's what I know the most in this world. I know of any skill, I know wrestling the most. So I think that it makes sense, as my next move to do something in wrestling. And then I think just to be able to coach kids and, you know, build a program. You know, it's whether it's right now it's Stieber Elite, maybe it's, you know, it could have been a college program, the RGC program right now. So building a program where, you know, the level of wrestling and of people, and just it's just growing and growing and growing. It's high, and the standard is going to be high. And so yeah, I think that is, you know, part of the motivation of, you know, wrestling has been so great to me, and the people I've seen, what the people around me have done for me and other people. And when I think about myself as an adult, as a man, the things I want to be doing, you know, this is being a good role model, a good coach, a good mentor towards these kids and parents is on the track of what I want to be. So
we've been talking 45 minutes already, so we jumped into this. Looks like we're going to have to do a series with you.
Yeah, we'll get back on it.
But the one thing I want to, let's wrap up on this. And this almost turned into like more of a educational thing. Wrestling education, which is cool to talk about. The one thing that you touched on, and we'll wrap up on this, is talking about balance. You talked about the importance of learning how to have balance in your life. And I think that's one of the things in wrestling too, that parents, again, you know, parents have so much. The intention is always good. Like I look at parents, and even the crazy ones that are going nuts at wrestling. It's like, look, I know you love your kid.
Yes.
I know you want them to win. I know you're trying to do the best, but you know, I think a lot of young parents that have aspirations for their kids to really achieve at a high level, they think that's got to be your life 100% of the time, 24 hours a day, and that's just not possible.
Yeah.
this could be a different conversation at a different time. Talking about burnout and this and that, I have different thoughts about burnout. But I think a lot of quote unquote burnout, and I don't really believe in that theory necessarily, but I think what triggers that is putting yourself in an environment where you can't think about anything else but this singular focus that you have, this singular focus for achievement, whether it's a sport or a profession or whatever. Like, I think that's the biggest downfalls for so many people, is that they think that they have to insulate themselves and they have to isolate themselves, and this can be their only source of existence, right?
Yeah. So my question to them, and this is, they don't think this could ever happen, of course, but it does. What if you lose? Right? Then what?
Yeah.
Then what? Is it just a black hole then? Like, then what? So there's got to be balance, and I think that kids will see it. I'll talk about it a lot, in the club. But I played football. I was in a small school, right? If I was in a big Division I school, I wouldn't have been able to play football, of course. But small school, I played football. I didn't wrestle for 2 months of the year during football season. Played football and enjoyed my football time, and I did other things outside the sport. I had friends. I hung out. In college, I was social. I wasn't, in my room watching, all these wrestling videos every second of every day. And it was, we had to turn it off. And my dad was tough on us wrestling growing up, but he did a good job of, usually when we were home, it was like the wrestling was over. Even if we didn't do well, the wrestling was over. So sometimes the ride home was tough. Once we were home, it was good, and it was kind of turned off the wrestling. And it's always in your mind, right? In college, I tell people this. Whatever I was doing, what I was in wrestling practice, hanging out with my girlfriend, at a friend's house, whatever I was doing, I always thinking about running up on stage. I was always doing that, but I did give myself time to relax and enjoy myself, and just be. I don't know if be a kid is right. I think sometimes that can be, misconstrued to be the wrong thing. But just enjoying my life and having the pressure off of, like, I don't need to go win. I'm not winning the state title right now. I'm not winning the NCAA title right now. I'm relaxing with my friends. Yeah. Get off my back. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and I think, whatever you do, like I always try and tell people, whatever you do, throw yourself fully into it.
Yes.
Right? And whether it's hanging out with your friends, even that thought, wrestling is never going to leave you. Your goals are never going to leave you. But when you're with your friends, be with your friends, man. Be the best friend you can possibly be.
Yeah.
When you're out fishing, be the best fisherman you can actually be.
Yeah.
When you're in the room, hey man, be the best version of the wrestler you want to be when you're in the room. And I think when you balance that actually, in some ways, inspires more passion for the sport when you have balance.
Well, it does, because then it's not, you don't have 24 hours to get good at wrestling. You have 2.
Right.
So it's like, oh, you have 24. It's like, okay, like, I'm just relaxing, chilling, like I'm thinking about wrestling, but I'm not hanging out. I'm not doing anything else, but I'm just thinking, like, you're not really putting in your full effort. It's like, put the 2 hours in at practice, full effort. And then when you have class from 10 to 1, 3 hours, 2 classes, you put your full effort in those classes. Because who cares about wrestling?
I mean, they've broken it down, physiologically in practice. Like, your window is pretty much anything past 90 minutes, you're getting to the point of diminishing returns. And so I've always thought, and I've talked to parents about this. I'm like, hey man, if you got your kid talking about wrestling, watching wrestling, doing wrestling all the time, when it actually comes to practice, they don't have enough in the reserves to give everything during this 2-hour practice, because you've consumed a lot of that energy before you even entered the room. And so they can't give their best effort. And so, it's like,
it's funny. But it's something that, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. Right. So
no, and I think this is your new platform, your new venture. Is like, this is what I'm excited about, all the kids in Ohio, specifically in the Columbus area, that have the opportunity to go to the Stieber Elite is all the knowledge, all the education, all the lessons that you've learned inside and outside of wrestling that you're going to be able to pass on to the youth of Ohio and the greater Columbus region, and to the parents. I'm excited for you. Excited to see this get started, and we're going to have to do this again.
Yeah.
Like we got into like a quarter of some of the things that I really wanted to get into.
That was fun. I like talking about these stuff, so it's good. And I think I have some stuff to pass on, and I've always tried to learn a lot from people around me. So I wish I would have always done that, with school stuff. But I think from the people around me, I've learned a lot, so I have a lot to pass on.
Cool. Well, hey, Logan, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, the one thing we didn't mention, I'm going to get kicked by some other people around the company, is that we're in a partnership together.
Yeah. So it's
Stieber
awesome.
Elite, RUDIS Wrestling have joined together in a partnership where we're excited to be able to outfit you guys and continue. I mean, we're all about evolving and promoting the sport of wrestling. That's why we really started, and to jump in with you and to help get this kickstart. We're excited to join in this partnership, and thanks a lot for coming on. We're going to have to do it again soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Logan.
Cool.